Hey everybody, this is Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from Townhall.com dated October 21st. It says, Nate Silver said this is undeniably a bearish newsletter for Democrats. Oh no. So anyway, let's see what Nate Silver has to say. And if you don't know who he is, he's a polling type guy that puts odds on, the elections and everything like that. So article says, I know some of you don't like Nate Silver. Liberals don't want him because he gave Donald Trump a near 60% chance of winning the 2024 election until the Kamala Harris switcheroo generated some momentum, but it's now stalled. The former president has retaken the driver's seat in his electoral college projection, and Silver listed 24 reasons why Harris could lose on Election Day. Sure, Silver has written lengthy posts to cover his bases should his projections blow up. Still, these reasons are something many of you know about, including some liberal writers who have been floored at Kamala's decline since September. And yeah, I did read, so I don't think, does this article go through every one of them? Yes, it does. So we are going to go through every one of them. I did read these already beforehand, not before I'm recording this, but this came out on the 21st, so a few days ago. From when I'm actually recording this. And I remember seeing some of them and I'm like, yeah, I don't really agree with that. But okay. So it says the liberal media establishment can't understand how Kamala is failing against Trump. Silver provides a laundry list as to why that's the case. Wonder if that goes to his website, this link. Yes, it does. It says not least being that she's an abysmal candidate who seems incapable of defining herself. So we're going to go through, what was it again? 24 reasons here. Yep, it is, and we're going to do it. So deep breath. Come with me on this little voyage. It says number one, Harris is the favorite to win the popular vote, but the Electoral College bias favors Republicans by about 2 percentage points. In an era of intense partisanship and close elections, this is inherently difficult for Democrats to overcome. One can only hope. And sorry, I got a hair on my glasses. You're going to hear my voice fading for a second as I get that off there. Get that smudge away. Anyway, we're back, and I'm not cutting that out. Number two, inflation hit a peak of 9.1 percentage points in June 2022. It has abated now, but prices remain much higher than when Joe Biden took office, and voters are historically highly sensitive to inflation. Democrats can also plausibly be blamed for it, given intensive increases in government spending during COVID recovery efforts. Well, this increases in government spending, that's the reason for the inflation. Says, though the reasons for this are much debated, this is number three, voter perceptions about the economy lag substantially behind objective data, and growth in take-home income has been sluggish for many years for the working class and rising corporate profits. So let's do what Trump said and get rid of the income tax. I think that's a good place to start that. For people to make more money, just take home more of your own money that you earned. So number four says incumbent parties worldwide are doing very poorly, and the historical incumbency advantage has diminished to the point where it may now be an incumbency handicap, instead given perpetually negative perceptions about the direction of the country. 5. Populism is often a highly effective strategy, and many Trump voters are indeed deplorable in the Hillary Clinton sense of the term. Yeah, good job there, Hillary, giving them a term that they could use forever. So they basically owned the term, the insult that they were called. 6. Illegal, unauthorized immigration increased substantially during the first few years of the Biden-Harris administration amid a rising global backlash to immigration. Number 7. Harris ran far to her left in 2019, adopting many unpopular positions, and doesn't really have a viable strategy for explaining her changing stances. Yeah, it's just, she basically changed every one of her stances to just, I've changed, or she just pulled Trump's policy. So as number 8, the cultural vibes are shifting to the right, and the left continues to pay a price for the excesses of 2020 on COVID, crime, wokeness, and other issues. Number 9, voters have nostalgia for the relatively strong economic performance in the first 3 years of Trump's term and associate the problems of 2020 with Democrats, even though they weren't in charge at the time. Right, well, they took over all the stuff after that and basically took Trump's strong performance and dumped it into the drain. So he's somewhat running a little bit of interference there for them because he is actually someone of the left. He tries to be fair, but you'll see in some of these too that his bias is going to start showing up. So it says number 10, Democrats' dominance among black voters and other racial and ethnic minority groups is slipping. It may be unfortunate timing. The memory of the civil rights era is fading. Educational polarization, which implies deteriorating democratic performance among working class voters of all races, may also be coming to dominate other factors. It's possible this works out well for Democrats if Harris makes corresponding gains among white voters who pack more leverage in the Electoral College, but there's no guarantee. Number 11, many men, especially young men, feel lost amidst declining college enrollment, contributing to a rightward shift and a growing gender gap. 12, Biden sought to be president until he was 86. Voters had extremely reasonable objections to this, and it neuters what should have been one of Harris's best issues about Trump's age and cognitive fitness, which he's totally, I mean, I get the age thing, but he's cognitively, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the man. 13, Harris also got a late start to her race, inheriting most of the staff from the poorly run Biden campaign. She's proven to be a good candidate in many respects, but it's always a big leap when the understudy is suddenly thrust into the spotlight. 14, Harris is seeking to become the first woman president. In the only previous attempt, undecideds broke heavily against Hillary Clinton, and she underperformed her polls. Yeah, so that's bad. This 15, trust in media continues to fall to abysmal levels. One can debate how to attribute blame for this between longstanding conservative efforts to discredit the media. It's not really what it is. That's what I mean. Here comes bias a little bit. A secular decline in trust in institutions, and various overreaching and hypocrisy in the press. But it's hard for even legitimate Trump critiques to penetrate the mass public. Trump's conviction on a series of felony charges hardly made any difference, for instance. And going back to the conservative efforts to discredit the media, it's not really that. It's the media is discrediting themselves. Conservatives are just pointing it out. So I don't like the wording of that. I just think that's, again, a little bit of bias there. And so it says 16, Trump has traits of a classic con man, but con artistry is often effective. And so this is bias for you. And Trump is skilled at convincing voters that he's on their side, even if his election would not be in their best interest. Furthermore, Trump presents Democrats with a Three Stooges syndrome problem, a range of plausible attacks so vast that they tend to cancel one another out. So the con man that is known for helping people and wins awards for helping people, doesn't make much sense there, but okay. So 17, Democrats' college-educated consultant class has poor instincts for how to appeal to the mass public, while Trump has done more to cultivate support among weird, in bunny ears, marginal voting groups. It was 18. Democrats' argument that Trump is a critical threat to democracy is valid and important. No, it's not. Given January 6th, and Trump's broad disrespect for the rule of law, where? That's blatant bias there, Mr. Nate Silver. Anyway, but it's a tough sell. Ultimately, January 6th was a near miss. It could have very, very easily have been much, much worse. No, that's not true. And Democrats hold the White House, the Senate, and many key governorships now. It isn't intuitive to voters that democracy is threatened, and Democrats may have staked too many chips on this line of attack. Yes, they absolutely did. But I mean, here's again where you can see the bias here. Trump is a critical threat to democracy is valid and important. No, it's not, because it's a lie. It's projection. All the people that are saying he's a threat to democracy are the people saying things that are actually going to destroy the democracy. And again, it's not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. But it's not Trump. That's the problem here, Mr. Silver. So try that one again. 19, foreign policy might not matter much to voters, but the world has become more unstable, not much, I added that myself, become more unstable under Biden's tenure. There has been a decline in democracy worldwide, an increase in interstate conflict, crises in the Middle East and Ukraine, and deteriorating U.S.-China relations, increasing immigration flows because of global instability, and a pull-off from Afghanistan that negatively impacted Biden's popularity. Gee, I wonder why that negatively impacted Biden's popularity. So number 20, the Israel-Hamas war split the Democratic base, and in a way no comparable issue has split the GOP base. Yeah, because the Democratic base was either stick with, all the Republicans, or most of them, except for the far-right people that none of us want anything to do with anyway, or pander to your very loud far-left base that are just anti-Semites, and yeah, that's what happened. 21, there are more left-leaning third-party candidates than right-leaning ones, and the former leading third-party candidate, as RFK Jr., endorsed Trump and undermined Harris's post-convention momentum. I was going to say conviction, but I meant convention. 22, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, has become a huge Trump stan, and again, that's kind of editorializing language there, and is doing everything in his power to tip the election to him. And Twitter X remains an influential platform among journalists, but has shifted far to the right. No, it's gone to the center. And again, here's bias. It's gone to the center. Elon just said everybody has a voice now instead of only the people on the far left. So to the people such as Mr. Silver here, who saw this change, that it looks to them like it's gone way over to the right. And in fact, it's just everybody has a voice now, which means it's to the center. So that's just not true, what he said here. It says Elon and Silicon Valley have also created a permission structure for other wealthy elites to advocate for Trump explicitly and provided a new base of money and cultural influence. Well, yeah, because he gave them the courage to actually talk now. But again, why are we picking on Elon when Mark Zuckerberg did quite literally the same exact crap in 2020? Does anybody just not, you guys conveniently not remember that? Number 23, Trump was very nearly killed in an assassination attempt, and then there was a second one against him. The first attempt was closely correlated with an increase in favorability ratings for Trump, and polling shows he's considerably more popular and sympathetic than in 2016 or 2020. Well, good, because I think that's true as well. And finally, it says, number 24, Harris has been running on vibes and has failed to articulate a clear vision for the country. It might have been a good strategy if the fundamentals favored her, but they don't. So we're done with what Nate Silver had to say. So it says, ignore the anti-Trump peppering in the list. You knew those were coming, but the fact that there are 24 reasons why Kamala is a flop as we head into the final weeks of the race is telling. I do like Silver calling out the uber left, hyper-condescending Democratic consulting class who are so weird they don't know how to talk to real people. So we have good indicators heading into Election Day, but stay focused, vote, and keep the pedal to the metal here. And it says update. And this wasn't here when I saw last time, so this is new. So it says, I don't usually do this, that's the author, but STM33 listed another 20 reasons that deserve some attention. Oh boy. So we're going to keep going. I thought we were done. But anyway, let's keep on going. So these new 20 reasons. So we're about to have, 44 total reasons here. It says, number 1, Kamala Harris has never been middle class and is the offspring of 2 foreign-born college professors, and they provided Kamala a prosperous childhood ensconced amidst the ivory towers of academia. Yeah, that's true. She is not a middle class. And like I said, has never been. 2, Kamala Harris's mother comes from the Indian Brahmin caste, which sits atop India's horrifically backward and oppressive caste system. Her father comes from a family of wealthy Jamaican slave plantation owners. 3, Kamala Harris's father was an influential Marxist economist. 4, Kamala Harris spent her formative teenage years living in Montreal, Canada. At no time in her formative years did Harris ever live what is customarily referred to as the African-American experience, or, for that matter, the American working class experience. Yes, she's actually a child of privilege. This is 5, Kamala Harris failed the California bar exam. 6, Kamala Harris rose to political prominence in California thanks to the support of a much older, married, and influential Democrat, Paul Willie Brown, with whom she was having sex while he advanced her career. That is a matter of just public knowledge. Yeah, go look that up if you don't believe me. 7, as California's Attorney General, Kamala Harris knowingly engaged in numerous unfair and unethical legal practices that wrongfully denied many unjustly incarcerated black men their freedom and liberty. Yep, go look that up too. 8, as a senator from California, Kamala Harris was ranked by many nonpartisan political analysts as the most extreme leftist in the Senate. Yeah, she was further left than Bernie Sanders, which is kind of a hard thing to do. So if Bernie's a commie, which he is, then what is she? So 9, running as a Democratic presidential candidate in 2020, while being incredibly well-funded, Kamala Harris nevertheless pulled at the bottom of all major candidates and was one of the very first to withdraw. This was widely perceived to be a function of her unlikability and her inability to offer cogent campaign positions of substance. Yes, because she is not smart. 10, Joe Biden explicitly stated that he hired Harris because she is a black woman. Thus, it is entirely fair to label her a DEI hire. Yes, that is 100% correct. 11, Kamala Harris, as vice president, has had an unusually high staff turnover rate exceeding 90%. So she must be real easy to work for, huh? This is 12. The media is extremely hard-pressed to recount a single accomplishment of Harris as vice president. Quite the opposite. They have whitewashed her title as border czar, as she failed to do anything to stop open border, allowing in 10 to 12 million illegals, including known terrorists, cartels, thousands of criminals, drug and sex traffickers, and the Chinese-made fentanyl that has killed 250,000 American citizens. 13, prior to becoming the presidential candidate, Kamala Harris had the lowest vice presidential approval ratings of any vice president since Spiro Agnew, who was Nixon's, I want to say, vice president. So that's 14. Kamala Harris knew that Joe Biden had dementia and lied to us for 3.5 years, covering up his mental incompetency. Yeah, I'm surprised nobody talks about that more. Like, hardly ever comes up. So it's 15. Kamala Harris, along with Barack Obama and other Democrat luminaries, engaged in some form of extortion to force Joe Biden to step aside as the Democrat presidential nominee in 2024 so she could assume that mantle herself. 16. Kamala Harris never received a single primary vote in favor of the candidacy she sees from Joe Biden. And again, that's another thing that hardly ever comes up, at least on the left. The right definitely mentions that. 17. As the presidential candidate, Kamala Harris was spurned by most of the Democrat Party luminaries to be her vice presidential candidate, and instead she settled for Tim Walz, an extreme leftist who has passed laws in Minnesota allowing for abortion up until birth and making Minnesota a sanctuary city for minors who, or Minnesota should be like Minneapolis maybe, but Minnesota's a state. But anyway, making Minnesota a sanctuary city for minors who opt for chemical castration or permanent life-altering physical surgery, even without their parents' permission. 18. Kamala Harris has been the Democrat presidential candidate for approximately 3 months, and her only two policy prescriptions are communist-style price controls and promising an illegal $25,000 government gift for first-time homebuyers. 19. Kamala Harris has never worked in a private business in her adult life. And finally, I'm going to see if there's anything below here. No, that is it. This is the last thing. Number 20. It says Kamala Harris has stated that she hasn't changed her values, and we should believe her as she has a more than 20-year video record of being for no border, abolishing ICE, government-paid health insurance for illegals and even paying for their transgender surgeries, gun confiscation, no bail policies, defunding the police, abolishing private health insurance, unlimited abortion and chemical castration, and or permanent physical mutilation of minors in the name of gender affirmation. So yeah, there you go. There's a whole nother list of 20 more that deserve some attention besides the original 24 that Nate Silver said here. But why she's an abysmal candidate. So sorry that went on for longer than it should have. It should have been done after those 24, but somebody else added another 20. So we got 44 reasons here. So let me know if you agree with all these. If there's any other ones that you think you want to add, go ahead and do that. But let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.